Hello, welcome. I've been really inspired by Rudy's words lately, as it's the Rudy time of year, and he always talks about surrendering completely, not holding on to anything, not choosing what you want to surrender. Um, and our physical practice is such an amazing time to experiment with this, right? Because we have poses that we like, or ways that we like to move, or things we like to think about while we're doing yoga. And when you can really drop in and be present and awake to what your body is asking for right now, you surrender all of your patterns, and this breaks up crystallization. It lets everything flow. Rudy talks about like dissolving the molecular glue. So my goal today is that we get to like dissolve that molecular glue, be in the flow, and we'll finish with some tension release to let everything go so things don't recrystallize. So lofty goal, but together anything is possible. So with that, let's turn over to the right. Move anything out of the way. We're going to meet on our bellies, and you can take your time getting there, melting down to the ground, enjoying the process. Stack the hands, elbows wide, forehead to hands, and let your body arrive. Let your body start to get heavy, and I bet that you can relax a little bit more. I bet you can release something that you don't know that you're holding. So take the next few breaths just to experiment with softening, letting the bonds between your atoms loosen. And start to tune into your breath flow. Try to breathe through the back of the body, expanding through the rib cage all the way down to the bottom ribs. And notice if that cue made you take a deeper breath, and see if you can let that idea go. You can just let the breath be natural, soft, gentle, flowing. And if you're following along with the playlist, you can hit play on the first track and set it to loop. I'll tell you when to go to the next track. Oh, photobomb from Mala. Good girl, Mala. And we'll start to move ever so gently here. So feel the shape of your spine right now. Feel the weight of your torso. And without lifting your torso, without changing the shape of your spine, start to take the weight out of the upper body as if you didn't want to press into the mat at all. And just feel lightness through the shoulders, lightness through the torso. Notice what wakes up and gently starts to squeeze the spine. And as you do that, let the left toes reach back and start to hover, lifting the leg as you reach it back, and then set it back down. And then on your next exhale, you can do the other leg. Just play with how keeping the upper body unweighted allows you to activate your core, so when the leg lifts, you can get more reach, more length, and more strength. Keep pulsing and try to tune into your breath here, using the exhale for the strengthening moment of lifting the leg. The next time the left leg lifts, slide the right arm long, push into the left hand so you can roll on to the right side. You should be facing me. Bend the knees a little bit so you're comfortable here. Do whatever's comfortable with your shoulder and your arm, and let's massage the right side of the body, letting your body soften and melt and dissolve as you roll forward. Literally try to feel the earth pressing into the feet, into the calves, the thighs, whatever's contacting the ground. Move smoothly, letting your body almost dissolve into a fluid. And start to straighten the legs, stacking the feet, flex them, reach the arm overhead, and notice the work that it takes to hold still here. If your back arches a lot, try to draw the navel in, shortening the space between the pelvis and the rib cage. It's almost like you're doing a handstand. Like, imagine the work that it would take. You can even push into an invisible wall with your hands. Take a couple breaths here, and if you notice anything working really hard, see if you can soften while still being strong, just more even. And then reach the top arm forward, reach the top leg back. We're going to play a little tug of war here. So the top leg is going to start to reach back and pull you. If you want to scoot forward on to the front edge of the mat so you've got room behind you, you can totally do that. And start to reach the leg behind you and feel how that pulls on the hip. Feel how that starts to pull on the rib cage. And then reach the arm back to where it came from, noticing how that's pulling you towards your belly. And start to play between those two experiences, trying to control the movement. So you feel like if I just said pause, you wouldn't have momentum carrying you onto your belly or your back. You'd be able to pause at any moment. And use this as an experience of how the leg connects into the core, how the arm connects into the core, and then how the whole body is really united. Anything you do with the arm and the leg ripples through the rest of your body. Try to move as fluidly as possible. It's okay to roll onto the belly. It's okay to roll onto the back, depending on your comfort level, so you can have fun with it. And the next time you start to roll towards the belly, go all the way, stack the hands, elbows wide, and we'll pause to where we began. We'll do another round of back bends, and then we'll do that same sequence on the second side. If you need to scoot over on your mat, you're welcome to if it's annoying you. Otherwise, just stay where you are and open up to asymmetry. It's okay. It's part of life. We'll start with the unweighting of the torso, just like you did before. Try to level your pelvis. Lift one leg and then the other. And then start to unweight both legs and see if you can peel the spine off of the mat, sliding the hands wide for Bhujangasana. The pelvis should be neutral here so that the sacrum is parallel to the earth. Try to reach the spine forward, drag the hands back. As you unweight the left leg a little bit more, let the spine sway to the right, and then unweight the right leg, let the spine sway the other way. And just like our legs before, just feel how the movement of the leg affects the spine, and this time let it be a little more dramatic. Make sure there's no pressure in the low back. Try to feel the whole front of the body expanding. The back can actually be quite soft here. If it's not soft, you're lifting too high. And then you can release back down, spread out the left arm, push into the right hand, roll onto the right side, make any adjustments so you're supported, and then we'll massage, the left side. So the side that we didn't do. Your back is towards me, and you might as well just close your eyes. There's nothing to see. Let your awareness drop into the experience of your body. And we're just doing first the rock and roll, just forward and back. We're not doing the tug of war just yet. Just massaging left side of the body, noticing from feet all the way up to the shoulder, up to the arm. Soft, slow. And then straighten the legs, flex the feet, reach the top arm overhead. Start to play with balancing on the side. Notice the relationship between your rib cage and your pelvis. And see if you can gently connect the pelvis up into the rib cage so you feel strong through the core, squeezing gently through the spine. Breathe. And then top arm reaches forward, top leg reaches back. Now we do the tug of war. The top leg starts to pull behind you, letting the hip follow, letting the body follow. And then the top arm pulls the other way, pulling you towards your belly. And we did this for several breaths on the first side. Now that you know what to expect, you can do this in your own way. If you want to roll onto the belly, if you want to roll onto the back, go for it. Just really try to tune in to the connections in your body. And if you've done this before, surrendering the way you did it before and let it happen new for the very first time, free of any patterns. Say you have a part of the body that overcompensates or part of the body that you compress. If you can do it for the very first time, you can be free of any of those patterns. The next time you roll onto the belly, you can pause there, but you don't need to rush. And once you're there, gently grab your block, press back into Bhaktasana with your block under your forehead. I like to hold my block between my hands, but do whatever's comfortable with your shoulders. Just gently massage the third eye and the eyebrow ridge, releasing any tension. And imagine as you release tension in the forehead that you're also able to release tension in the mind. Letting all the thoughts dissolve, any worries. And then we'll float up into table, place the block off to the side, and go to the second musical track. Satyam, while you're at the computer, can you also put the clock on the screen? Okay. So take time in table to paw out the hands, softening through the elbows. Try walking the hands closer to the knees. I'm noticing a lot of times people can find more bend and springiness in the elbows that way. Roll a little extra weight into the pinky side of the hands. Let the shoulder blades be nice and wide. Wag your tail a little bit. And then slowly come to center as it feels comfortable. Press down into the tops of the feet, letting your spine gently round into cat pose. You can also push down into the pinkies, letting the back of the heart widen. Breathe into the back of the body. As you exhale, stay in cat. Start to draw the abdomen in, suctioning the front edge of the body to the back edge of the body so you feel really strong and supported on the front of the spine. And then slowly release cat, coming to a neutral spine. We'll do this a few more times, and each time let your cat get smaller and smaller until it's just below the rib cage. It's going to feel like you're barely moving, but hopefully you feel like you're getting a lot stronger in that suctioning of the front edge of the body up towards the back edge. The upper spine should be nice and neutral. You don't want the upper spine moving, and it's almost like a tiny crunch, but for me, so much more interesting than a crunch. The next time you find that low back cat, pause there. Breathe into the low back. And then keeping that tightness, slowly tilt the pelvis forward and notice how that's challenging. It's almost like you want to lose the tightness with the core when you tilt the pelvis forward. And then try it again. Low back cat, draw in through the core. Keep that as the pelvis tilts forward. Do a couple more of those on your own, just trying to wake up that support on the front of the spine. As my pelvis tilts forward, I love working with the experience of broadening through the sits bones. So if that helps you, you can play with that. And then keeping the tops of the feet flat. The next time the pelvis is tipped forward, exhale and slowly start to hover the knees just a millimeter above the floor. Feel what wakes up. Set the knees down, and we'll repeat that, rounding through the low back. And then finding neutral. And then exhaling to hover the knees. Repeat this several more times on your own, staying in the knee hover longer as it feels available to you, or not. It can just be 1 second. But try to experience how when you hover your knees, your whole body can turn on to support you. So hopefully you don't just feel it in the shoulders or the low back, but rather like all of your cells are helping to support that. The next time you tap your knees down, gently press your hips back to your heels, slide your hands forward, taking a rest pose, forehead to the mat. And then we'll eventually be rolling from this position into the low back cat. So take one breath into the low back. And exhale to soften. And then with your next inhale, start to push down into the shins, floating into table, letting the low back start to round. With the exhale, keep the abdomen in as you tilt your pelvis forward. Inhale to lengthen through your spine. And then exhale, hover the knees. This time, set the knees down, tuck the toes under. Next, exhale, hover the knees again, and then press into the hands to send the hips towards the heels like a little leapfrog. Try to feel how the pushing into the pinky of the hands allows you to reach your hips back. And then set the knees down, feet flat, hips to heels. We'll repeat that. With your own breath, it doesn't matter if it's an inhale or an exhale, you can start to roll up into the low back cat. And then tilt the pelvis forward. I like to exhale for the knee hover, but you don't have to. And then release the knees, tuck the toes, do another knee hover, but this time press back into your leapfrog. Option to start to lengthen through the back of the legs, but only if you're able to keep a nice long spine. And then lower the knees, release into your rest pose. And now that you know the sequence, continue it on your own, rolling up from Bhaktasana, establishing that deep core support, playing with the knee hover, and then using that strength, that sense of connection to press back into a very spacious down dog. That looks so great. If at any time there is a pose that you want to hold, please give yourself that permission. Great job, everybody. The next time you're in down dog, you can pause there. Start to sway the hips from side to side. As the hips sway to the right, let the left hand pull towards the feet. Hips sway to the left, right hand pulls in. Start to walk the hands all the way in towards the feet, bending the knees really deeply so you can melt the spine. Press down into the feet. Let the sits bones drop towards the heels. Slowly push the hips forward and notice how the spine starts to roll up, but we're not going to go all the way. And then release that back down. We're going to do this several times to roll all the way up to standing. And each time, let it feel new. Let it feel fresh. Try to feel the back of the body pulling down, the front of the body lifting and opening. You can even come all the way up and float the hands, but then release everything back down. Try to find a sense of fluidity and ease. You don't want to feel this in a single part of the body. You don't want to feel the low back or the hamstrings. Instead, you just want to feel the whole front of the body opening as you lift, and the whole back of the body releasing as you lower. And the arms can do whatever feels best for you. And just try to have a little awareness of that low back cat feeling, of the abdomen supporting the front of the spine, creating more space between the vertebrae. And the next time you release down, interlace the hands, flip the palms away from you, and slowly come up, pushing through the hands. Notice how that changes your center of gravity and makes your core work a little harder. When you get to the top, you can turn to face me. Push down into the right foot. Start to stretch up and over to the left. Notice a sense of spaciousness all the way down the whole right side of the body. And then come back to center. We're going to do that again. So bend the knees, release down. Start to reach the hands forward, letting the hands pull you all the way back up. Press into the left foot this time, reaching over the other way. Do this 2 more times on your own to each side, releasing down. You don't have to go all the way if that feels intense. You can go halfway. Really try to reach through the hands, letting that activate your core. And then add on your side bend, getting as spacious as possible. You can even rotate open. Just make sure the pelvis and the rib cage are moving together. And then last one. And come back to center. Take one more moment to press the hands up. Try to relax through the shoulders. And then free your hands and imagine just releasing all your tension in that moment and let everything soften. Let everything go. Wow, Roseanne, your hair looks so good right now. Yoga hair. It's like a magical thing that happens. Just pause for a moment at the bottom and notice any spaciousness you've cultivated. And we'll start to shift the weight from foot to foot. And the feet don't need to move, but just try to feel how when the weight goes to one side, the hip stacks, the shoulder stacks, and then the same thing happens on the other side. Yeah, let the arms be kind of loose and relaxed here. Try to start the movement at the foot, shifting, and the whole body following. And then almost like a pendulum swing, it goes the other way. The next time the weight shifts over to the right, pause there, lengthen up through the right side, anchor the right big toe, and try to find that, again, that low back cat, right? And really what that means is just activating the core in a way that pulls up on the front of the pelvis so that you're really strong and supported. And start to play with swinging the left leg without letting the work of the core go. So if you let the work go, it's like when you swing, your belly just goes all over the place, your pelvis tilts around. When you hold still here, your leg doesn't go as far, but you'll feel as the leg kicks back, you'll feel work through the front of the body. As the leg kicks forward, same thing on the back of the body. It makes it a lot more interesting and useful. See if you can relax through the shoulders, just letting them naturally swing, almost as if you were just like kicking a soccer ball. The next time the leg swings, hug the knee into the chest and see if you can lengthen up through both sides of the body. Keep anchoring down into the right big toe, soft shoulders. Breathe down into the sacrum. And then release the knee, kick the foot behind you. I'm going to turn to the side, grab the foot, and gently start to guide the knee back, kick the foot into the hand, and as you exhale, hover the hand towards the horizon for Natarajasana. Really gentle here, just allowing the front of the hip to open. Try to keep that low back cat, and you don't even need to go very far to feel the quad and the psoas stretching. One more breath here. And then release the foot. Let it start to kick behind you, keeping the hips square. And you can face me or whatever is easiest for you. Look at the back foot. Make sure the toes are mostly forward. Nice adjustment there. Equal weight in both feet. Stand up tall here. Soften the front knee just a little bit. It'll help you move a little more fluidly. Start to tilt the pelvis forward. Again, I'm going to turn just so you can see what I'm doing. Letting the spine release forward, and then press down into both feet to float back up. Bend the knee at the top and float the arms. And then we'll repeat this, draping the body forward, floating the hands back. Option to kick into the front heel, straightening that leg any amount, but stay long through the spine. And then keep kicking to rise up, float the hands, and bend the knee. And it's kind of fun to let the hands hit the top at the same moment that the knee bends. And then the hands float back, drape the body forward, and continue on your own for 3 more repetitions, trying to move as smoothly as possible. Trying to feel this as evenly as possible through the whole body. Remember, we're trying to release all patterned movement here. So imagine you know nothing about yoga. You don't know any poses similar to this. And you're just discovering what's possible in the body right now. The next time you float forward into the forward fold, pause there. Press down into the feet. Imagine you're trying to, we're not even really on the mat, just traction your feet away from one another. Feel it wakes up on the outside of the hips. Keep reaching the arms back so the back is really strong here. And if you want to tip forward a little more, you can, but just make sure you feel even through the whole body. The front leg can straighten any amount, but you don't want that to make your body round. And we're going to hold this for 3 more breaths. And if that feels like a lot, try to soften. Maybe come out of it a little bit. Try to find a way to make this more sustainable. Helps me to have equal weight in both legs so that front leg doesn't get too tired. But endurance is a good thing. It's okay to get tired. Builds endurance. Next, inhale, press down into the feet, slowly rise up, bend into the front knee. We'll do the same thing in Virabhadrasana 1 and let this feel almost like dessert after holding Parsvottanasana. Feel the spaciousness that's possible. Press into the feet, feel both side bodies lengthen, let the heart become spacious. Arms can do whatever feels good. Sometimes I like to let them go really wide so I feel wider. Let the neck follow the rest of the spine so the gaze might lift a little bit. You can even start to lengthen the occiput up and back to allow the whole front line to lengthen. And then twist towards the front leg and push into it to step back. It could take a couple of times. It's sort of fun, so you can let it take a couple of times. Once you land back in your Tadasana, pause for a moment. Satyam, can we go to the next track? Close the eyes and just take in the experience, especially through the right side of the body. Usually the leg that's forward works a little bit harder, so you might notice that. We'll start to shift the weight from leg to leg, letting our body get really fluid. This is the way we began the first side. Let the arms swing. Let the head and neck follow. Just let this help you find a sense of ease. And then even as we go into the sequence, even as we go into holding the postures, see if you can bring the same lightness and ease and flow. And the next time the weight shifts over to the left. Pause there. Hover the right foot and start to swing the right foot forward and back. Remember, we're trying to find that neutral pelvis that actually limits the movement. We don't want to just kick as far as possible. We want to find stability here. Oh, great idea. If you need to move towards a wall for support, you can totally do that, and you would just want your left hand to be on the wall for this round. Don't stub your toe here. That's a trick. And the next time the leg comes forward, hug the knee in, but try to stay long through that side of the body so you're not rounding. You're actually actively dropping the sit bone and lengthening up through the spine. Take one more breath. And then start to point the knee down. Grab the foot behind you. Neutral pelvis at first, that strong core we've been working with. Then the knee might pull back just a little bit. It really doesn't have to go far when the pelvis and the core are really supported. Exhale, float the other hand to the horizon. Option to kick foot and hand together to lengthen and open. You might have more awareness of the top of your neck here, and we're actually not tipping forward. We're trying to extend and open upward, as this is a back bend version of this pose. One more breath. And then let the right foot step behind you, keeping the hips square so the step isn't going to be very far. Back toes are mostly forward. Take a moment to look at them. If the toes turn out a lot more, it's we're avoiding lengthening the calf, which is really beneficial, so you definitely want that. Equal weight in both feet. Press down into the feet to find length and space. First round, we'll do hands on the hips. Soften through the front knee and start to drape the body forward. And then kick into the front heel, letting that leg straighten. As the leg straightens, the hamstring's going to start to pull down on the pelvis, and you can roll back up. At the top, bend the knee and float the arms for Virabhadrasana 1. And then we'll repeat that, reaching the arms back, draping the body forward, getting long through the spine. And then once you're in it, you can start to kick into the heel. You don't need to straighten the leg, but as you kick into the heel, let that leg lengthen any amount that feels good. And then keep kicking into the heel to slowly roll up, feeling the strength through the whole back line support you. Hands start to hover, knee bends at the top. And then you'll repeat that on your own and try to think of it as just one movement instead of separate poses, trying to move as fluidly as possible. I love the moment at the top in Virabhadrasana 1 where you can almost be completely weightless. And then soften everything down. Let the movement start at the feet. So it's the pushing into the feet that allows you to rise up. And you feel that strength rising from the feet up into the hips, up through the spine. The spine lengthens. And then the knee bends at the very end. Take one more. And then the next time you drape your body forward, we are going to stay in Parsvottanasana a little bit longer. So reach the arms back, start to kick into the front leg. You don't want to create strain, but you do want to start to challenge your body to get stronger. The more the right leg kicks, you should feel like the more the deep core has to work to find that low back cat action. Try to soften with the breath, and if you need to wag your tail a little bit, that can help you prevent gripping. Make sure there's no pain anywhere. You just want to feel spacious. Make sure the shoulders are loose. Flap your wings a little bit. Nice. Yeah, try to be creative. How can you find a sense of spaciousness in a holding action that makes you want to tighten? It's a good life lesson. And then with your next inhale, you can press into the heel, rising all the way up, feeling that strength ignited in the back body. Bend the knee and pause in Virabhadrasana 1. And notice any sense of lightness, any sense of spaciousness. You can anchor that big toe, let the knee float nice and wide so that the glute activates. See if you can find that low back cat here and notice what that does to your pelvis. You'll get a lot more activity on that right hip when the core is engaged. You might feel a nice spaciousness from the right ankle all the way up the front line of the body, even through the front of the neck. See what it feels like to lengthen through the occiput, letting the gaze lift slightly, letting the chest lift. One last breath. And then we'll twist into the left leg and start to get springy and take a few springs here until you can step back and pause for a moment. If you want to grab a drink of water, you can. We've got one more standing thing. This was Roseanne's request. She requested skipping. And I was like, oh, great. Why did I ask Roseanne what she wanted to do? And then it totally inspired me to add a little skipping moment to this sequence. So thanks, Roseanne. You pushed me out of my comfort zone, and it made the sequence better. It always works that way if we can surrender. So we're not going to do the whole sequence again, but we are going to come back to the leg swing. And start to feel how when the left leg swings forward, there's like this momentum carrying you forward. You can actually add on just a little hop. The hardest part is stably landing on that same leg. So at first it can be really little. And then just notice the stabilization that has to happen on that leg and try it again. I find that each time it gets a little easier. And I go a little higher, which is kind of exciting. And then the next time you hop, you can pause for one moment, twist a little extra to the left, grab the outside of the left leg if it feels good, and either stay there or you can even start to kick that leg longer, twisting the rib cage away from the extended leg. And then let that leg step back, twist the other way just for a nice counter pose. And then do that one more time on your own. So a little swing, a little hop. Try to pause. That's the hardest moment. Wow, awesome. You're really good at that. Take your twist. And then nice big twist the other way. That hopefully feels like, woo, I'm free. And then get a little bouncy so you can step back. And just take in what happened. I know this is really hard work in the feet and the ankles, so just make sure that you're feeling warm but not strained. And then if it does feel like too much, just take a littler hop on the second side. So shift the weight into the left foot this time. Start your swings. Now you know what's happening, so you can kind of go on at your own. But when you feel ready, as the leg kicks forward, you can add that little hop and then try to stick the landing. Ooh, I'm way better on this side. This is my right side, so it kind of makes sense. The next time you twist, pause there, grab the knee, reach the right hand behind you so the rib cage can spiral back. Option to kick into that leg if it feels good, but you don't have to do that. And then let the right leg swing behind you, nice big twist to the left, whatever feels like a good counter pose, and then we'll do that one more time. So shift into the left foot. Nice leg swing here. You can stick with the leg swing if the hop is too much. I really like to, after I stick my landing, to like try to hold it for a moment so all those muscles can stabilize. And then eventually take your twist. A nice big twist the other way. And then get bouncy through the front leg. And step back. Pause for a moment. Bring your hands to your heart. Try to breathe through your nose, which might feel harder with elevated heart rate. And just feel how the heart is pumping nourishment through your veins. Notice your breath flow. The breath rate might be increased because a little cardio. And just gently massage the heart with the hands. part of the front line actually is this tissue on the rib cage, so it is useful to give yourself a little massage here. But also imagine energetically, you're just like wiping away any tightness in the heart. We're going to make our way down to the earth. Satyam, can you go to the song that's called Inner Sanctum? Oh, it's the next one if anyone's following along. Perfect. Let's take one spacious sweep up of the arms. See how fluidly you can move as you bend the knees, softening forward. Plant the hands lower, one knee at a time into tabletop. And sway the hips a little and imagine this is a funny one, you're inside of a peanut butter jar and you're trying to get the peanut butter off the edges of the jar. Allow the spine to sway to the right, let it dunk down, sway to the left, and then let it puff up. And just take a few of these barrel rolls. It can be almond butter, mac nut butter, I guess Nutella, whatever you want it to be. And just imagine you're massaging all of your joints, even the unmoving joints. As you sway, you get a little massage through the wrists, through the knees, the tops of the feet. Change direction. And then start to press the hips back towards the heels. Sink the hips over to one side. Walk the hands in and kick your legs out in front of you. Inchworm forward so your hips are towards the center of the mat. For Shavasana, if you would like to do a restorative pose, you're welcome to use your 2 blocks. You're also welcome to just take Shavasana if that feels more comfortable to you. So totally up to you. If you're using the blocks, place the soles of the feet together and bring the blocks up to the high part of the hip, leaning them in, which is a little tricky, but it's totally worth it. It is helpful if the blocks are slightly on the mat so the mat grips them and they don't slide out. Leaning them in so they really gently cradle the sides of the legs. You don't want to feel any stretch here. This actually guides the thigh bone into the hip socket and is really balancing and restorative for the hips and the low back. So it should feel much smaller than your range of motion. And then just for fun, because you have a blanket, you can place the blanket over the feet and tuck in the legs a little bit. I like to wrap the blanket around my ankles, and then you have a little extra support mimicking what the blocks are doing. And then start to make your way onto your back. I do find that I usually have to adjust my pelvis and reset the blocks, but the feet should be good. And take your time adjusting the pelvis, adjusting the spine. This should feel very, very supportive. You don't want to feel really any sensation besides being suspended and light. At this point, you can pause your music, and Satyam, I can do it so you don't have to get up. And start to drop into the breath. And just notice any sense of fluidity. Any sense of freshness, like this is the first breath you've ever taken in this moment. Be open to the possibility of everything in your body and your psychic system resetting. Just letting go of any crystallization and truly being spacious and free. And we'll rest here for the next several minutes, just letting the breath massage us from the inside out. You're welcome to stay here for the rest of Shavasana. You're also welcome to lengthen out the legs at any time. Observe your self. Mm. Just notice any space you feel from your thoughts and tensions. And breathe into that space. And feel how real and true it is, and so much vaster than the things that usually occupy our thoughts. Let your awareness start to scan the whole body, shining your awareness through the feet and legs and hips and torso and arms, shoulders, neck, head. Eventually starting to make gentle movements. Perhaps stretching, pointing the toes, rocking. Anything that helps you inhabit your body. And eventually, when it feels like time to press up to seated, try to stay in this space and leave the dense parts behind. Leave anything that you've broken up, leave it behind. And eventually we can meet in a meditation seat with hands together at the heart, just feeling that portal to your inner dimension, letting your awareness rest down in the heart. Thank you so much for practicing. Namaste. That's the end of our hour, but I will now guide the tension release and a little bit of meditation. If anyone wants to stick around, you're welcome to do so. If you've got to go, thanks for being here. Great to see you. So if you know the tension release, feel free to just go into it, but I will cue it in case you need a refresher. And so it starts with the hands at either side of the hips, and this practice comes from Rudy, and he said during times of a lot of growth and change, it's good to do this every single day, but at the least we should do it once a week, so it can be very refreshing, very uplifting, especially if you have a regular meditation practice, to let all this stuff go that we often don't clean out of our system. And then Rudy says our patterns just like reform, like everything just goes back. Even if we made a breakthrough, things can just go back to the way they were. And so we'll begin with the breath flowing up over the forehead, down the throat to the heart, where you can retain the breath for a moment in a relaxed and gentle way. And then eventually exhale the breath out the arms, down the palm and fingertips where the breath exits the body. You can add the visualization of the breath as the clearest, most perfect water, your favorite temperature is coming in through the nostrils, washing the forehead, pooling down at the heart. And there at the heart, it starts to mix with all the tension that we're ready to release. And it becomes murky and cloudy and sludgy. And we can exhale and allow that sludge to pour out of the body. Almost feel like the heaviness and the thickness leaving out of the palms and fingertips. And the final layer of the practice is Rudy's mantra. Can repeat each time the breath is held at the heart. I deeply wish to release all negative psychic tension. And try to feel that wish to let go, to truly be free, to be in this fluid, uncrystallized space where all possibilities are real. You can take several more like that. I deeply wish to release all negative psychic tension. Almost like hand washing clothes, where at first the water gets really dirty, but each time you refresh the water, it gets a little cleaner. Maybe the sludge thins. Maybe eventually you start to just feel sediment in the water. Just letting the practice truly clean you out. And when you feel like the practice has run its course, you can eventually start to slide the hands along the floor, flick out the fingers, shake out the arms, sweep them off a few times. And eventually place the hands wherever is comfortable. And as you come back to stillness, just notice any subtle shifts. Let your breath be gentle and fluid. And let each breath help you stay in that fluid, adaptable, uncrystallized state. And if you can truly feel each moment of the breath, the beginning, the middle, the end, and the changing of directions into the other half of the breath, and so on. The breath keeps us fluid and present. You can attach the natural breath mantra hum to each inhale, sa to each exhale, repeating it so gently, just as gentle as the breath. You can close with the hands together at heart center, 3 intoned ohms, which is just ohming with your mouth closed, and it sounds like a hum. Zoom is probably going to cut out my sound. Oh, Satyam's changing it. And so when you're ready, you can gently inhale to chant. Thanks so much for being here. Namaste. Second namaste of class. And aloha.